Please give her a warm welcome.
This is wonderfully overwhelming. The energy in this room is really beautiful. So, dear graduates of the College of Health and Human Services at the University of New Hampshire, you did it. You just achieved a major milestone in your life journey. So let's take a moment to just pause and reflect while you're here with your family and your friends and faculty and administration. Reflect on your time here at UNH and allow yourself the luxury to feel proud of the work that you did. Thank you to Dean Kirsten Corazzini, President James Dean Jr., Provost Wayne Jones, and the Commencement Committee for honoring me here today. The final commencement to close out the season. You could say they saved the best for last. You could. And I'm filled with just tremendous amounts of gratitude to not only be invited to address the graduating class, but this has also given me a chance to really think about my time here at UNH and what pivotal role that plays in making me become who I am today. I am a proud emergency medicine physician. I am a powerful women's health advocate. And it's been a long and challenging road, and I'm blessed to say that I am still traveling it. My dear parents who are here today made this trip to Durham, New Hampshire many times from 1991 to 1995. And I'll never forget the day they dropped me off for the very first time. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous. This was the first time I was away from home, which happened to be the requirement I had in going to college. I knew that I needed to build independence, and I knew that that would serve me well. McLaughlin Hall was just what I needed. A small building, women only at the time, a place I could find my community. In fact, the friends that I made there, I still see, at least every year to this day. They're like my cheerleaders on speed dial. My family has always held me up with love and support. And I was taught the value of respect and patience. And I'm still working on the patience piece, I'll be honest. Sorry, Mom and Dad, that just doesn't seem to stick. But watching them drive away that first day, I realized that the rest was now up to me. You see, I announced that I wanted to be a doctor when I was like 10 years old. I told everyone. They were always like, wow, that's amazing, good luck. And it made me feel special. It sounded hard to achieve, and that is what I wanted, like I had something to prove. I had no perspective of what it would really take for me to make that happen. I was the youngest of 3 children, the first to go away to college. My mother worked in our pediatrician's office, and my father was the captain of the Rhode Island State Police. And I thought, gosh, if I could just mold those two, that would be my perfect job. The lights and sirens and unpredictability of my father's job and the medical intellect of my mom's. Emergency medicine. There, I knew my path. Now I just had to figure out how to get there. And I was told growing up that I could be anything that I wanted. And I believed that. But let's hold on a second and just realize that there are a backlog of barriers that many people face, especially women, when it comes to following their career path. So when it came time to apply to college, I got a little gun shy on the whole doctor thing. My friends were going into liberal arts and communications. I would do the same. We excelled at communicating. I had no women mentors in medicine or science at the time. In fact, I had quite the opposite for most of my early path. My high school chemistry class was taught by this woman with a thick Russian accent, very intimidating demeanor, a really tight hair bun. No such thing as messy buns back then. And I was doing poorly in her class. So much so that she asked to have a special meeting with my busy working mother and myself before school started. So it took us like 45 minutes to get there, and we arrived at what we considered was on time, which for us is 15 minutes early. We knock on the door, my teacher appears, shaking her head, pointing to the clock and saying, "You're not on time, on time." I was like, this is not coming off at a good start. It just took a couple more minutes after that for her to turn to my mother in front of me and say, quote, "Your daughter should not go into science. She should think of something else," end quote. You know, and some moments can remain powerful a lot longer than they should, and this was one of those moments where it just wants to sit and sink like an anchor before it has any possibility of becoming any sort of inspiration. Can I really be a doctor? Isn't that the same thing as going into science? Attending UNH was an easy decision for me. I could see myself walking around this beautiful campus. It was far from home, but not too far. And my best friend Erin was coming with me. I had no losing hand. But when it came time to choose my classes, I felt like this was a pivotal moment. Do I start the path of pre-med? That's 4 years of science, math, biology, physics, genetics, and yes, chemistry. Add another 10 years for a master's and a medical school and residency, and damn you, 10-year-old girl, look what you got me into. After a quick self-pep talk, I transferred as quickly as possible into the College of Life Sciences and Agriculture here at UNH, and I majored in biology. That was the life that I wanted, that I needed. I also lived in Stoke Hall and the Blue House on Main. I loved walking around in oversized flannels and listening to grunge music and typing on my word processor. I never missed a chance to hang out with my friends late night and drink Natty Light. I went to the Stone Church and listened to bands. I learned how to make grilled cheese in the dining hall by toasting 2 pieces of bread, getting a piece of that yellow cheese, and microwaving it for 6.32 seconds. This was the mainstay of my vegetarian diet at the time. But I also never missed a class, not even on Friday mornings. My mantra then was work hard, play hard. I joined Dr. Stacia Sauer's Department of Molecular, Cellular, and Biomedical Sciences lab here and had the opportunity to obtain real research experience. It even led to my very first peer-reviewed publication titled Evidence for Lamprey GnRH1 and 3-like molecules in the brains of Southern Hemisphere lampreys, Geoffroy australis, and Mordacia mordax. I still don't really know what that means. I felt safe here, I matured, I learned how to learn. This was the right place for me at the right time, and I will never underestimate that fact. And after finishing the endless prerequisites, I loved exploring women's studies and creative writing and medical ethics. I thought I was going to take medical ethics class to figure out the answers to those ethical questions in medicine. But there are no answers. And I started to envision my future. I started making mental models of things that I would work on when I got the chance. I applied to medical schools straight out of college and received all rejection letters, not one interview. There's this concept that failure leads to resiliency, and that's a tough pill to swallow. Building resiliency is not easy, it's not fun, and it's not fair. And it takes a lot of courage. But there's only one person who has the power to make that switch, and that is you. I needed a plan. I liked the concept of work hard, play hard because I was really good at both. But maybe I shouldn't do them both at the same time. I first had to work hard. After I graduated from UNH, I moved to Boston to immerse myself in teaching hospitals. Because of my research experience here, I was able to get a job as a research technician at Tufts Medical School. I volunteered at Boston City Hospital Emergency Department at night just to see if that concept of lights, sirens, and medicine was for me, and it was. I then enrolled in the Boston University Graduate Program in Medical Sciences to boost my application, and it became pretty obvious to me that if you were in the top of the class, then you were pretty much guaranteed an interview until their affiliate medical school. So in my head, I translated, A's equals interview. Interview equals medical school. I knew if I just had an interview, they would love me. They knew that I needed to be a doctor. And some random person said to me one time, someone has to get the A's, it might as well be you, and I agreed. I should get the A's. So I made a pact with myself to do what it takes. I had a close friend in that master's program, and we methodically studied together. He got sick of me complaining that the Krebs cycle was hard to understand. It is. But everyone else always seemed to be smarter than me. Imposter syndrome is real. Then my friend asked me, do you think you would know it better if you reread it for 4 more hours? And I thought, maybe. He's like, okay, what about 8? I was like, yeah, probably. What happens if you reread it for 15 hours? What about 36? And I said, oh God, yes, I would definitely get to know it. And he simply looked at his watch and he said, well, you better get started. And this was the moment I decided to double down on myself, to stop comparing myself to others and feeling inadequate. Instead, I learned that my superpower was time. With enough time, I could do anything. So I set up this crazy study schedule where I learned what I needed to do to excel, and then I did it. And my plan worked. I got that interview and I started medical school at Boston University. And my reward at the end was confidence, thank you. Confidence in myself, a trust in my ability to get things done when I needed to. But I couldn't keep that work ethic up forever. It's nice to know that you have gears that you can go into, right? Plus, I like to play hard too. Well, that no longer means late nights with natty lights. Life is too short to drink bad beer. And now that you're graduating, it's time to up your game. Playing hard for me was now about setting myself up for success. I remind myself of this almost daily, especially when it comes to setting the coffee pot the night before. You know you don't want to before going to bed, but you also know that your morning self is going to be so grateful to just press the button. And so, as an EM doctor on a clinical shift, I need to be my best self, period. It's non-negotiable because the mental and physical overload is real. From the moment I walk in on time, which is 15 minutes early, EKGs are being handed to me. Nurses are grabbing me because there's a sick patient. Families flagging me down for questions. I'm trying to put the right orders in on the right patient, all while charting furiously in the electronic medical record. It's untenable. But lives are at stake, so you do your best. So what do I do before a clinical shift? I play hard. I set myself up for success. I get sleep as much as possible, and then I'll add a few more hours onto that, because I love sleep. I don't go out late, if at all. I eat well, I move my body, I caffeinate up. A colleague told me early on that when he's driving in for his ED shift, he likes to be quiet, calm, gets his head in the game. Athletes do this too. Keep in mind that sitting still is also playing hard, right? It gives your inner voice some time to percolate, see what bubbles up. It will serve you well in your emotional advancement, which is another non-negotiable for your success in your future. Without rigorous self-care, there is no self to give. So whether it's working hard or playing hard, cultivate each so you know what you're capable of, and it's probably more than you thought. As you begin your careers in health, science, and medicine, this will be especially important. Because working in health and human services means that you will be constantly confronted with the complexity of the human body and mind and how fragile it all is. You will be forever challenged to stay up to date. Evidence-based medicine is constantly evolving, as it should, as should we. You've received excellent education here at UNH, both in the classroom and in the community, and you are equipped to make the impact that will define your journey. In closing, I would like to thank my husband, Eric, my family, my dear friends. Let me be clear, without you, there is no me. Thank you to my mentors and sponsors who inspired me to pursue the career in medicine and who still inspire me to really navigate uncharted territory. And a special nod to the pioneers that came before me. And I'm talking about the women's movement, a movement grounded in the injustices of inequalities. I found my calling because of you. Thank you for instilling in me a duty to be courageous, to pick up where you left off. Graduates, hold on to the lessons you learned here at UNH. Embrace the challenges that lead to resilience, because remember, it's okay. You have the key. Congratulations again, and best wishes for a bright and fulfilling future.
Thank you so much, Alyson. That was